from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Ooh, welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We are the embattled broadcast that explores the past to reside in the now and dictate the terms of our future. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So tonight is a wild night. It just started to absolutely torrential downpour here in New York. So if we lose connection anywhere in this broadcast, we will be back very shortly. Just to let you know, if we freeze up a little bit, just in case, sometimes when the rain hits down like that, we get a little bit of interference, but no worries, no worries. Welcome everybody. Tonight is the rise of progressive occultism. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to define what the occult is. There are many different versions of what the occult means. And so we have to set a little bit of groundwork, right? And tonight is purely a conversation. I was going to do a slideshow for this, but then I figured maybe that's not the best bet. Maybe a face-to-face conversation will be the right way to go about this and what this means. We're also going to take some excerpts from an article I found that is absolutely wild when you think about what's happening. Now, a lot of definitions in this are going to be something that we see ourselves in, but when we think of a cult, we think of things that, that are being played out on the side of darkness. So we're going to be referencing that, and just to be clear here, that this is basically going to be speaking about the sort of the dark stuff, right? The occult means just practices outside of mainstream religious beliefs. A lot of us hold some of these religious beliefs. Some of us sort of warp our way in and out of it. Certain things apply, certain things don't, right? So we're going to take that all into consideration. And nothing I say here is definitive in any way, shape, or form. It is all in the eye of the beholder. So I want to make sure that when we're talking about this specific occultism, this occultism is leaning towards the side of dark. There are light aspects that are fluent in occultism, right? So the occult simply means, and this is just a simple term, the occult is a broad sense or a category of esoteric supernatural beliefs and practices which generally fall outside the scope of organized religion and science, encompassing phenomena involving otherworldly agencies such as magic and mysticism with their varied spells. So when we talk about the occult, we talk about, Aleister Crowley, William Butler Yeats, Kenneth Grant, these people. These are the occultists that we talk about. But if we're defining occult by these meanings, we would sort of reside within that too, right? We're not fundamentally to the side of dark, but we believe in the supernatural. We believe in this esoteric form of magic and tension. So a lot of people get misconstrued in this, right? So when we hear occult, we think immediately it's the deep state, the shadow people, all the stuff that resides in the darkness. But there is a light aspect to the occult as well, and it's an exploration of self. Now, when we say an exploration of self, usually when we think of self, it's sort of not so much us, but the dark side again. And I'm prefacing that, and I'm going to say it a lot tonight. The empowerment of self has a lot to do with the Satanists, right? When we think about giving homage to God and out whatever your God of your choosing, whatever you believe is your higher power, we're giving something to that God, and we're giving faith to that, right? And it applies that's within the main scopes of religions, right? Some people don't believe in those religions, but they still believe in some of the aspects of those religions, right? So when we talk about self-empowerment, a lot of people incorporate that with Satanism, but it's not. It's not, because our self-empowerment goes into a presence that becomes more, not what we're not godly, but more in the presence of God. And we're doing it to help others. We're doing it to proactively change humanity, right? We're not doing it for the selfish reason. So it goes back to intention. And that's really what it comes down to. So when we hear people saying that, empowerment of self is sort of a satanistic view of things, we have to contradict them and say, no, 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 no. You're misconstruing what we do here. Exactly, Pink. It's awareness, right? It's the awareness of it all. So a lot of people would call astrology occult, right? Not a cult, but occult. The word occult. Occult is like, oh, Waco, Texas stuff. That's a cult. But so we have to be able to push back against these people who will use what we say and how we do it to intervene and try and place us in a place that we know we don't reside in. This is a very fundamental battle that we see day in and day out, because when people are approached and we talk about the supernatural and extraterrestrial and these agencies beyond the regular scope of reality, people tend to put us in certain boxes. And what we're seeing now, and we're going to get further into this rabbit hole with the dark side and what their intentions are by referencing the occult. It's a confusion. This is what they love, right? They love the confusion of it all. But what we're getting to is that we don't reside on the same side as these people. Therefore, we have to be avid about pushing back. So this is sort of the opening salvo for the evening. We're going to get into some things. We're going to talk about a couple of people within government, and a lot of this occultism, or this progressive occultism, is going towards the millennial left. And when we say left, we know the left is politics. And this is why we wanted to open the show up a little bit more to explore some of these different areas of interest, because to understand how these people work and what they're doing to turn society on its head gives us the ability to create that pushback, which is why we're here today. So please like, share, subscribe. We have a super chat available. Please, if you can, donate to the channel. It all goes back into the channel. We're building platforms. We're creating a lot more for everybody. And please leave a comment when we're finished. That is the biggest thing you can do. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're not getting notifications, please go and turn the bell off and turn the bell back on. Sometimes this system, it gets a little bit crazy. Things happen. So we've got a lot to talk about. And when we say magic and spells, a lot of people think immediately that there's hexes and voodoo and darkness. Some spells and magic, which a lot of the people in this community know, are not that, right? There's a lot of misconceptions. When we talk about these things, we're trying to look at this through a mainstream lens. Why are we doing that, right? Because we know we're not part of that mainstream sort of, I guess, ideology or the way that they do it, right? See, that's crazy, Auric. I know that that's been happening. People have been getting unsubscribed to the channel. I've seen, we were gaining 20 to 30 followers or subscribers a day, right? And now we're getting negatives. People are just getting taken off the platform. It's like they're trying to create a divide between the people who are resonating with the information that we're putting out and the community at large. They're doing their best to split us up or to keep us in our individual lane. And this is part of the progressive style of occultism with censorship and the battling of logic, right? Logic is something that we've held dear for so long, but they want to turn that on its head. Everything that you've ever known to be true, they want you to question it now. And there's a reason for that. There truly is a reason for that. And we're going to get into it. This is why I kind of was very adamant about thinking about how I'm going to approach this tonight while remaining in the fold of the censorship. Because I don't want to lose this platform, because this is where we all come together, right? This is where we all come and be with one another and relay information and ideas, right? And this is why we're trying to make sure that we're going above and beyond. And once the website is fully finished and up, that will be the location, right? That will be the main place where you can come 24/7, 365 to figure out exactly what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it, and where we're going to be. We're also going to start doing some of these shows in StreamYard itself. These are going to be uncensored shows. They're going to be absolutely off the wall, talking about the last, I don't know, the last five years to say, certain things we can't mention here, but what we've been going through as of late and what they're really trying to do. I can only show you. I can't really say it here, but we're going to be setting up shows like that too. And when we do that, there will be a post in the community tab. The community tab will bring you into the studio where we can do a webinar style presentation that'll blow your socks off. So let's get into this article just a little bit. And I'm going to show you the article too, because I think it's important for you to see this while we're doing it. I don't usually share screen, but tonight we're gonna. And this is what we're going to be talking about. Now, this is a left leaning type of paper. Okay. This is a left leaning article. And it's going to blow your mind what the left leaning people are saying about themselves. And this is an indicator, right? This is what we're showing you. This is why we're talking about this, because this indication is going to be everything, right? How you like this? This is a new little look I've put together for the show. I'm not sure if you can actually see it, but we'll see what happens, see how it works out. But this is like, this is what we're trying to get to. This is what we're trying to talk about now. This is how they're truly showing you who they are without actually going over, in opposition to what we're saying. It's a very crafty way to bring to the surface all of the things that we see and all of the things that we talk about. So this is the article that we're going to be referencing. We're going to read along together. So it says, back in March of 2019, an elected government representative shared something personal about her spiritual identity, right? Not a preferred Bible verse or a conversion story. Rather, progressive New York representative AOC shared her birth time with a self-described psychic and astrologer. And this person is Arthur Lip Bonewitz, who in turn shared her entire birth chart with what can only be described as astrology Twitter. And you're probably thinking to yourself, we don't usually talk about these things. This is the marketplace of ideas. So for them to go out on a limb and do this, this has two effects here. We're going to come back to me very quickly. This is a good move, right? This is a good move. Why? This is showing people that there is something more that they need to understand or that people are abiding by. Now, what happens after this is the darkness, right? It looks like that there is a good intention by showing them that the astrology of people, right, is something that people are very much into, and astrology can be a point of awakening. And we know that because of the occultic or esoteric knowledge of what the zodiacs mean and how they're congruent to your birth charts, your star charts, all that stuff. So this is a good thing that they're putting this out there, and the fact that there's something called astrology Twitter is epic. That means that this place of ideas or this platform of ideas, right, is essentially um, growing to exponentially incorporate the different sides of spirituality, right? And Raman says something here. Is I want to say that the psychics are the work of the occult. This is what I'm talking about. They're trying to use this term as an all-encompassing term, which gives them a lot more leverage when talking about specific ideologies because they'll reflect it back to their modus operandi, which is the darkness, right? This is pretty crazy. And this is why we're putting some connections together. So let's keep going a little bit because this is an interesting quote here, right? Very interesting. So astrology Twitter went wild. So did the mainstream media, like outlets from Vox to Cut Allure, speculating about the AOC's astrology chart could tell us about her fitness for political office. AOC's Aries moon indicated that she's emotionally fed by a certain amount of independence, self determination, and spontaneity. Now, this is where they start to go into lies. This is a straight lie. AOC is determined by who is lining her pockets and what she can do to procure some sort of fame for herself. That's her motives. She literally grew up in a town next to mine. Okay, that's where she. That I know of her personally. She is all about money and aspirations of fame. She is not the bastion of self determination and independence, as some would say, or even spontaneity. Right? We know who she resides with. We know that she is completely capitulant to the radicalized left hand side of our society, which in turn we're going to talk about a little bit later. What they're even this is what we have to discuss as well. There's a radical left and a radical right. Both are extreme, right? And the extremism of both is causing societal decay. And this is where the logic gets turned upside down. This is where people get indoctrinated by mainstream media, which in turn turns them into a lackey, so much so that they'll just take every specific talking point, digest it, and regurgitate it. This is where we're losing critical thinking, right? And it's really a sad time for a lot of things. But at the same times, you know, oh, let's everybody send some healing energies to Selena to make sure that everything is good on her end of the world. And we're seeing that a tornado just passed. We hope you're safe and everybody in your family is safe. We'll say prayers for you, Selena. Let's uh let's all do that this evening to make sure that you guys are all in good standing. And if you need anything, you can always reach out. You have my email, you know that. So on with the breaking down of societal decay. So basically, we're talking about, spontaneity of AOC. But the independence always finds a way home. Meanwhile, the psychic told The Cut, Madeline Ager, that the stars predicted that AOC's career in politics is likely to last the rest of her life. Now, do you see the message that they're giving out by using something above and beyond to try and show people, hey, look, this is what it means? I bet you if you actually read her stars, this is not what it says. It says that she's deceitful and all the rest of those things. So they're using lies to capitulate to occultism, right? So AOC's decision to share her birth time might be an unprecedented move for a political figure. Hillary Clinton famously avoided this question, sparking years of debate among astrologers. I didn't know that before I read this article, but it also it carries, you know, 29% of Americans say they believe in astrology, according to a 2018 poll, right? And these are people who call themselves mainline Protestants, which is, I mean, well, 22% call themselves mainline Protestants. This is the organized religion versus the occult or the occultism, right? And they're showing you that the organized based religions are bad in this article, which is wild. They even go into, some of the MAGA movement and how it's also bad, right? But let's get to the part that's important. So, more importantly, however, AOC's gambit taps into the way in which progressive millennials have appropriated the rhetoric, imagery, and rituals of what was once called the New Age, from astrology to witchcraft. I never heard of witchcraft being New Age, right? So, as both political and spiritual statements of identity. Now this is the topic, right? the political and spiritual identity is merging into one. There is only one. There is only one echelon of what they're talking about, right? What they're saying is that all of this is bringing it together. They're becoming one and the same, right? This is beyond anything I've seen to this point. How they're using this terminology to show that their spiritual identity is also incorporated in their political identity. Do you see where this becomes a radicalization, right? There were things taken back in, I believe it was I think it was the 80s. I don't remember when the exact bill was written, just to be off the top of my head. But the separation of church and state, right? They did this for a reason. Now, was it a good reason at the time? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So, what they're saying is that this separation is not there anymore. Politics can be bled into from a religious or spiritual perspective. And this is dangerous territory. This is dangerous territory. Politics is supposed to be the exchange of ideas based on perspective, right? Or perspectives. But when things become radicalized, those perspectives become radicalized. And now it becomes opposition. This is also a way to discredit certain people while pedestaling other people. And when we start to see this happen, it becomes a two-tiered system politically, criminally, and also spiritually, right? This is a dangerous precedent that they're setting here. But let's keep going because it gets even wilder. They do talk about the Wiccans. The Wiccans is what they're talking about. We're getting into the Wiccans. I never knew a Wiccan to be New Age, right? I thought Wiccan was its own sort of standing religion. And New Age was more of a positive movement. Not saying Wiccans aren't positive, but at the same time, I don't think that they're the same. I don't think they're one and the same. And they're categorizing. That's what they're doing. They're painting broad brushes as well, which is another dangerous moment, right? So let's continue. So, an increasing number of left leaning millennials, more and more of whom do not belong to any organized religion or occult spirituality, essentially isn't just a form of personal practice, self care with more sage. Rather, it's a metaphysical canvas for the American culture wars in this post Trump era, which is what they're talking about, pitting the self identified Davids of seemingly secular progressivism against the Goliath of national evangelical Christianity. Which, do you hear how they said that, right? First, they said American culture wars, which they're putting an emphasis on. They said secular progressivism against the Goliath of national evangelical Christianity. So now, if you're a Christian in any way, shape, or form, you're an evangelical, right? This is not true. They're painting broad brushes. Now, this is where it gets a little bit on the side of Wiccan, which we're going to talk about a little bit, and the Satanic Temple. And this is why we're seeing such an eradication of logic, because things like this are happening, and it's being done on purpose. There, let me ask the question in the chat too, and if you agree with this, hit a one and tell me if you agree. Something like this 5 to 10 years ago would have never been written about in a major publication. We would have never heard anything like this, right? Ever, ever. I know that for a fact. I watch all of mainstream news and medias and things like that. I like to stay up on stuff, but they would have never talked about this. They're doing this for a reason. Now, somebody says Wiccans don't believe in Satan, to my knowledge. This is where somebody's reading ahead right now. But do you see what they're doing when they're saying that. They're popularizing this satanic movement, which is where this article ultimately goes to. This is a wild moment in our history, right? So also share this out. If you know somebody who's teetering on the verge of just insanity with this stuff, share them this. Be like, this is something that most of the left and the right don't want you to hear. This guy is completely out of his mind. But you have to listen to what he's saying. Just tell them anything. Tell them I'm a nut, right? This guy's a nut, and he's probably not right. But you got to listen to what he says. It's pretty. It's so egregious that you have to hear it, and hopefully, maybe they'll find some sense in what we're saying here, right? So this is what I mean, and Valentina is right over here. I can see the evangelicals burning women again. This is what I'm talking about, where there's a right side that is completely radicalized, and there's a left side that's completely radicalized. I thought we were supposed to be a nation or a place of everybody's ideas and not leaning too much to the left or the right. We sort of stay in a centrist mentality to take the best of both worlds and create this super state that eventually becomes the echelon of the upper echelons of the entire world and freedom for everybody, right? And what I mean by a state is a place where people essentially are thriving, right? But we're not that, and there's a reason for that. So we have to go back and ask ourselves, what is this reason? We're going to get into it really quickly here. We're going to talk about this next section because it's important. So it says the coven of Brooklyn witches who publicly hexed then Supreme Court candidate Brett Kavanaugh to the immaculation of thousands strong magic resonance of anti Trump witches, among them pop singer Lana Del Rey, mainstream again, who used a home folk magic to bind the president in the months following his inauguration. They are organizations like the Satanic Temple, newly featured in Penny Lane's 2019 documentary, Hail Satan, a non theistic religion, which is absolutely insane, right? An activist group that uses its religious status to demand for its black robe clad members the same protections afforded to the Christians in hope of highlighting the ridiculousness of faith based exemptions. Satanic prayer in schools, right? There are dozens of Trump era how to spell books that blend folk magic with activist practice, right? And there's a whole list of them, which we're not going to go into. There are hundreds of thousands of users of which popular blogging platforms like Tumblr and Instagram, which at the moment boasts an 8.5 million photographs hashtag witch, right? Now, we're not saying that the witches are good or bad. What we're saying is that they are putting them together with Satanists, which means that the mainstream is following a Satanistic reality and calling it okay and calling it good. This is the problem. This is the problem, right? I'm not saying that witches are good or bad. That is not for me to say. What you practice in your own home, as long as it's good for you and you are not hurting people, only helping people, I support you 100%. Doesn't matter what it is, right? Doesn't matter. As long as you're here to help and not hinder, we are friends to the end. To the end. And I know I'm being very emotional about this specific episode, which is another reason why I contemplated whether I should do it at all. Because it's very hard for me to keep a clear head, knowing that we are fighting these Satanists at every level. And what they're doing is they're basically co-opting other things that are a part of our community to be a part of the Satanist community and paint that broad brush. Now, there are some witches who do fall under the Satanist community. Don't get me wrong, but majority do not. And the problem with all of this is they're saying this to people, and they're saying that even though those witches are a part of that Satanistic culture, they are the good guys. Just like they pander to the radical leftists in Congress and the Senate. And they're saying that they're the ones that are good, and the right is the bad guys. When the right majority of the right believes in God and stays in a lane of being sort of, I don't want to say evangelicals because it's not the case, but they stay more of the God fearing type, right? Or that they believe in a higher power. And this is why this is controversial, because they're implementing this radical ideology and saying it's good. This is the inversion. This is the great inversion. Remember what I told everybody. 2022 was the year of the truth seeker, right? 2023 is the year that all of these truths that we figured out during 2022 are coming to the forefront. It's the year of accountability, right? This is the accountability right here, right now, with us. We are here to hold you accountable for doing the wildest thing we could ever think of and saying that Satanist Luciferians are the good guys. Could you imagine that? I could never see that. I could never understand why that was. And this is their underlining karmetic ideology. This is something called the revelation of the method. If you know about the Satanists, it's the revelation of the method. They're telling you what they're doing, and when they implement it, right, what they're doing is they're alleviating their karmic debt by letting it be almost like an informed consent sort of notion, which doesn't make sense because they're subliminally telling you, but they're doing something out in the ways that could be detrimental to all of humanity. Valentina is absolutely right here. Most witches believe in God and goddesses. Makes sense. How can you have a father without a mother? They believe in the energies and the energies of equal. I want to say equality, but the equal bearing of both masculine and feminine energies. This is what propagate some of the magic that they do, right? Or some of the spells that they are aligned with. But they're letting you know that there are a sect of witches that fall into the Luciferians, and these are the same as any other witch. So now all witches across the board should be seen as a new age practice. It, it boggles my mind. That boggles my mind. I can't understand that. So let's keep going a little more because there's more to be had here. Exactly, Anu. Says, I'm witchy and I know that there's a source, and the people I know don't believe in Satan in the way it's been domesticated. Or, I get that too. When we talked about Lucifer, which was later on to be Satan, right? It was something at the beginning of the universe that was an incarnation cycle that kept breeding these negative entities. And yet, while these entities were negative, they weren't the same, right? It was different throughout time. But the life cycle or the incarnation cycle of this specific anti force to our force is essentially what is butting heads, right? And we're not saying that this is the Judeo Christian devil or the Judeo Christian Satan. This Lucifer is something different. There is a reason for his actions, whether it's pertinent enough to say that it was justified or not is into the eyes of the beholder. I'm not going to say that for anybody. But the Satanism is a ideology bred on suffering, pain, and sexual misery. So whatever we believe of Satan or Lucifer, we're looking at the ideology that mankind is holding up. And that ideology that mankind is holding up is talking about suffering, misery, and sexual misery as well, right? Like this is there's a difference. So whatever Satan is, is we can't speak about that because we don't reside in that realm. We can talk about it, but we can't proclaim it to be truth. We can only speculate. But what we can call truth to is the way that it's represented in the mainstream right now, which is what we're talking about tonight. And this inversion of everything that we've ever known in our entire life. Now I'm going to go into my tirade, right? I'm going to go into my tirade, and this is where I was very leery about talking about this. 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 5 because somebody says it. This is the inversion of the logical mind that they want. Why? Why do they want this? And they're doing it with gender ideology. They're doing it in a bunch of different ways. On all fronts, they are attacking your logical self. Why? Why? Because they want you to be dumb, subservient, and ill prepared for when they play savior. This is what they're going to do. They're going to break down society at every instance, or they're going to try. They're losing, and they're going to lose. They've already lost. But this is the logic that it's never too late for them to take power back. We have to understand that. So we have to be vigilant about calling this BS out and making sure that we're saving the children, because the children are the next generation. And their idea is to lose for 40 years now, but win in the long run by distorting the minds of children, right? So all of this multifaceted attack on logic, when it was, we could break it down and say all these different things, right? We could say, bring up all these examples, but really what it is a multifaceted attack on the logical mind. And when they do this, they're doing this because they want you to follow their edicts. They believe that they hold power over you. When they don't hold power over you is when they censor you, is when they cast you out or try and ostracize you. But what's happened is so many people have been cast out and ostracized that we've created communities. And these communities are large and vast. And everybody in this community has probably received a moment in time where somebody has says to you, "That's crazy. Are you serious?" Or what's going on with you?" Right? Everybody here has experienced that, whether it was a family member, a friend, because they couldn't understand that you literally broke those chains and created your own independence. They can't believe that. They can't believe it because they've made it so unattainable that these people, when they see you do that, they can't even believe it. They're like, no way, no way. So they've done this for a reason, and it's a system, and they've played this system out over and over again. They've had tabletop sessions of these systems and how to break them down, right? We're seeing right now in the mainstream media specific narratives that are being tailored and created to enslave the masses or to indoctrinate the next generation. What is the purpose of this? Because, like, again, they may lose now, but here's my problem with it, right? When we were in school, we were taught mathematics, English, history, all that stuff. All of that seems to be a backseat to culture aspects now, right? And what that means is that we are now 26th in top, in the world on curriculums of schools and the advancement of the children. When at one time, probably about 50 years ago, we were first. Over 60 years, we lost 24 positions, and places all over the world that are less free are above us. And it's really it's a wild thought, right? So this attack on the logic, and I know I'm taking a while to get to this point because I'm trying to pick my words out properly, is intentional, and they feel that they are on top of things right now. But what they don't understand is that they've created this undercurrent. And this undercurrent is like lava underneath the mantle, right? We're finding our places to push up and become a volcano and spew out all the lava all over the place. And every time we spew more out, a veil is lifted, right? We're lifting veils and we're liberating places, people, even animals from the unjust chains of these deep states or these globalist elitist groups, and their second phase was to incorporate corporations. And this is how they truly clamp down on all of us through the marketplace, right? Not just the marketplace of ideas, but the marketplace of food and water and gasoline and all of those things, right? So we have to be ahead of them by 10 steps. To do that is to understand how it works. And this is one of the ways that they create these moments in time that once those Rubicons are crossed, it's very difficult to bring it back. So what have they done? They've incorporated the spiritual community with the far left radical activists. This is the end point here. So now when they look at people like us, they're going to tell us that we're radicalized, whether it's right or left, when truly all we're doing is we're trying to create a future in which everybody has the ability to dictate the terms of that future, right? We can keep going, but I think that this is the place to stop because I want people to think about what was said here and we can go forward and say, you know what? There is a lot of truth to what we're talking about. And for those people who are joining us for the first time, you lucked out because I don't usually do this type of episode. This is not an episode that I usually go into like this because of the censorship, because we don't fully understand how the censorship works. And something that we could say could set everything off, right? And I want to make sure that I don't do that. But they're incorporating these things together now. And when they paint those broad brushes, they decide that you essentially are a number, a piece of meat, or a subservient slave to them. And you're going to be under their thumb for as long as you can be. And we're working to maneuver away from that, right? So, with all that being said, please like, share, subscribe, leave the comment. And when I mean, share this out and say something crazy about it. For the people who wouldn't normally tune in, say something like, this guy's an absolute nut, but you got to hear what he said, right? Do something outlandish. Say something outlandish about me. I could take it. I could take criticism, and I think it's a good way to bring people here because I bet the people who come here from that instance are going to see this lineup of episodes and they're going to say, maybe there's some truth to what he's saying. Maybe he's seeing it from a different perspective, right? And that's all we want to do is just open the eyes of the masses, and all of us are here together to do that. This is why coming together into this collective and convening all of the time, like we've been doing, is important. We're sharing ideas with each other right now. And here's the thing: my birthday was last Wednesday. Thank you, Ronnie. I really, really appreciate that super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to put a post up after this. And what I want you to do is I want everybody here to give a topic that they would like to see on this channel, right? Something that they want to get deep into. I would love for everybody to give a topic. And that's what I want for my birthday. I want it as a gift so I can go forward and bring some different perspectives to the table because all of this is amazing, right? And if we can connect and collaborate in that sense, and bring these ideas together, while somebody who isn't thinking of the idea is interpreting what the idea was, is a unique perspective to have about it. So let's try and do that. I'm going to put up a post after this, and hopefully you guys get the message for it, and we're going to see what ideas come out of the community that we can really jump into, right? And really dive into. I know we have the wing makers we can go over, which is something I've got a plethora of books, right? Paul Anthony Wallace hopefully is going to be stopping by soon to talk about his new book, which is going to be awesome, right? But I've got a tremendous amount of books that I think I'm going to dive into to bring some more information from these literature perspective, right? And I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So all that being said, I hope this message found you with love and abundance. Selena, we're saying prayers for you. Everybody say a prayer for Selena and the safety of everybody around her. And I see Omar just made it in. I see Nancy, Auric, Sugar, Valentina, Anu, Ronnie. Everybody's here. I saw Gray before. I saw Discock, the Andromedan. Nicole is here. I see Grace is here. Bandia is here. I mean, everybody was here tonight. Six Littered, amazing. For I don't remember seeing you ever, so thank you. PWR55, awesome, awesome, awesome. Everybody was here tonight. Everybody was here. I like the new profile picture, Gray. It's a good one. But with all that being said, my name is Rob Yox. This is Full Spectrum Universe. I love you all, and until next time, I think we're going to be back either. I think Monday. We're going to come back on Monday, and I'm going to set up a couple of different episodes to really dive into. So, with all that being said, thank you all so much. I love you all. Have a great rest of the evening. Enjoy.